Greetings, it is I, Tantus Narvan Dracovin, Lord and Emperor of the Dracovin Empire, fresh back from my vacation. I will have a channel update very soon. I'm going to get that out this Sunday, let you know a bit what's going on with the new stuff. But let's just get into the topic for today. Now, I've gotten through most of the spring 2016 anime series that I really want to talk about. If there's any that you think that are interesting, that you think I should discuss in one of these videos, please just leave it in the comments below and I will make it. But for now, I'm going to start going back in time a little bit. I'm going to go back to winter 2016. It's still the same year. It's still got some series there that I think are worth checking out. All these I rate 5, so these are my top of the line videos. So let's just go into them. I've got 3 I want to mention. Myriad Colors Phantom World, Gate, and of course Dimension W, which we're going to start with. So let's talk about Dimension W. So in this series, it's a sort of semi-futuristic series taking place years from now, where the existence of Dimension W is proven. And with this new dimension that's proven, coils are invented to harness energy from this other dimension. Now, coils are then controlled by this company that's formed called New Tesla. Now, there are people that have illegal coils, coils that shouldn't be used, or coils that are like early prototypes, things that are supposed to be under the control of New Tesla, because they have this sort of overreaching branch of creating basically clean energy with the coils. But regardless, illegal ones are out there. And so collectors are then tasked with collecting them and bringing them back, basically. So our story centers around Ryoma, who's a collector, and he hates coils. He has like a dark past with them, and it's created a sort of general hatred of them. And he ends up partnered up with Mira. She's a gynoid, or a very advanced robot. She was actually created by one of the inventors of the coil, and he made her like almost human in how advanced she is. She's very indistinguishable. She has like a similar brain, like neural structure to a person, that she can think, feel, stuff like that. And so the two of them end up working together as collectors and go on adventures, you know, go out and collect coils, deal with some like rival type people, end up getting into some of the dark history of New Tesla and the history of coils, that it isn't as squeaky clean as they would have liked it to be. And unfortunately that sort of like dark tones sort of enters in through the series, that there's some history there that's not the best. So let's talk about the genres that this series takes up. It's of course an action series. Ryoma is an excellent fighter. He's trained to take down people using coils by not using any of his own. He was actually a member of an elite squadron in his past, that he had all this like special training, that he was basically effectively this world version of special forces. And so he does his job very well. So there's a lot of action scenes with him fighting out people and battling with people. Now, it is a sci-fi series. It's taking place in a future with this like alternate technology, robots, machines using coils, this like sort of futuristic technology. And I would also call it a little bit of a light drama. It has this like very dramatic undertones, that there's this kind of darkness to the world, you know, that it's like the world seems like it's a very bright future, but there's this sort of dark undertones, like there's the corruption within New Tesla, that like sort of like you do see people that aren't so bad in the company, but then you kind of get these hints that there is this darkness in it, and darkness to the history of coils. And each of the characters, both of them, Mira and Roma, they do actually have this sort of dark history to them, that it exists in the world, that there's tragedy there. So it creates this sort of light drama to it. So it's not so bad. It like kind of undertones in and everything, and I think that works very well for the series. So the next series I want to talk about is Gate. Now Gate, this one is, I'm really mentioning the second season more than anything, because that's the one that was taking place in winter of 2016, but I'm going to talk about the series as a whole. So it has had 2 seasons, is the thing I want to note with that. So anyway, so in Gate, we have this portal basically also opens up in Ginza, Tokyo, to another world, and soldiers and monsters from a fantasy world come in and attack. And eventually the JSDF, or the Japanese Self-Defense Force, shows up and manages to repel them. There are of course some deaths there, and there is a soldier who was of course off duty at the time, Yoji Itami, who was basically going to go to some kind of like an event, anime/manga event, and he basically came in and saved a whole lot of people. So the Self-Defense Force, the GSDF, makes a base on the other side of the gate, because it's sort of those weird things that they can say, like, part of the other side of the gate is Japan because the gate's in Japan sort of thing, and so they are able to make a base on the other side. And of course, Itami he gets a promotion, he becomes a squadron leader of his own team, he goes out there and they go adventuring in this fantasy world. And so he becomes sort of our central character, that he's this otaku slacker who, though at the right moment, is willing to step up and be kind of the heroic person, because he knows it's necessary. And he ends up befriending, this group of people from the other world. Most of them tend to be female. He gets like a mage friend, an elf, a dark elf, this incarnation of a dark goddess, that also end up kind of hanging around and joining his company, his band of soldiers. So the series centers around the plot of him dealing with the JSDF now in this world, and the Empire that had technically attacked the gate, and things like that. So this is, of course, a fantasy series. It switches between this sort of the real world and this fantasy world with magic and monsters and fantasy races and beastmen and elves and dwarfs and all that kind of stuff. So it's very traditional fantasy on one side. But I would call it a military anime because it does center around the Japanese self-defense force. They have military might a lot of times. So they don't have the resources to like go in and spread out really far. But when they do something, of course, they have superior, because they have guns and missiles and stuff like that. Technology that the fantasy people, even the most powerful magicians, maybe could match someone like a tank or something. It doesn't have an equivalent exchange. Though they do deal with some like problems in that world that do find to be very difficult, even with their technology. Certain types of things like dragons and stuff are very hard, even with fighter jets. Anyway, and the last one I'm going to put this in is I'm going to give it a harem as a genre. Tommy is the center of this group of women who kind of like him, but they kind of want to be centered around him. It's not a romance harem, I would call it, so much to say. They sort of can tell, so it's a very light in that retrospect. They're not like outright trying to go for him. They more want to be around him, and they all kind of share a bond with him. So it's a light harem, actually, I would call it. Anyway, so the last series I want to talk about is Myriad Colors Phantom World. Now, this is dealing with a sort of, I guess, semi-future world where this virus gets out and everybody's infected, and it allows them to see these extra-dimensional creatures, phantoms. But also, in this effect, it has given a few children special abilities, that there's children born with special powers. So these children then can deal with, most of the phantoms are harmless, like 95% of them are harmless. It's just there are groups of them and ones that cause problems, and these children are then kind of tasked with taking care of them. So they all form clubs at their schools to take care of phantom problems. We center around Haruhiko, and he's a first-year high school student at his academy's Phantom Hunting Club, where most of the students at the academy actually do have abilities. So he is in a team of characters that all have their own special abilities. As the series go on, they recruit more members into the team that each have their own abilities, and they sort of bond together. Now, his ability is that he can seal and summon phantoms by drawing in a notebook. So he's got this notebook with him that he can put together drawings really quickly, fairly quickly, that he can either use to seal a phantom away or to summon one to battle with at his side. So let's talk about the genres of this series. It is a fantasy series. I would call it a fantasy series because though they have this sort of like viral explanation as to why everybody sees these phantoms, they're very, fanciful based. They're very spiritual and, like Japanese mythology based, like some of them are, but they kind of have this idea of fantasy to them, that they're phantoms, spirits almost, even though they're explained as extra-dimensional creatures. I would also call this a school club anime. What this means is it revolves around a certain club. Now, the club in this one revolves around fighting phantoms, but you have this like dynamic of them going to the club and having little meetings and doing stuff related to them, and they're a team in itself, built within this club, having their own sort of missions and things like that. So it has this, it's more than just the school, because I could also have called it like a school-based anime, because there are plenty of ones that have, the school as the central idea of the anime. I would call it that the school part of it is not as important as the club part of this one. Now, I would also call this one also a light harem. He is the only male in his team, Granted, there isn't really a big romantic tension about anything, and it's hard to say if any of them really like him a whole lot. I think they like him more on a friend level, but it is the fact that it is one guy with a whole lot of women around him that gives this sort of harem feel to it, and that's why I'm giving that word to it, that description for the genre, because it has a harem feel without having to be a harem anime. So those are the 3 series I want to talk about from the Winter 2016 series. In the next video, I'm going to go over how to use them in your BESM game. I probably will go over some more from that season before I'm done, maybe to fill in the blanks before I start getting into the Summer 2016 series. That will be in a couple of weeks. That's a little mini update there. So anyway. So if you have any questions, comments, anything you want to say, anything you think I left out, please leave it in the comments below, especially if you think there's any more series I should review. Let me know down below. Please like this video. It's a great way of showing your support that you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you already haven't to. We're always looking for more members, more citizens of the Empire. And please share this video if you know anybody that would enjoy it or would learn anything from it. And until the next time, I bid you farewell.